What are you on about? I mean, if you weren't listening, then I don't know what you want me to say. JK, age and pronouns, please.
Hello.
Hello, age and pronouns, please.
Age and pronouns.
Correct.
I'm 28. Pronouns. I don't agree
He,
with
him,
pronouns.
he, him, he, him, he, him.
I'm a male, so obviously I'm going to be he or him.
Yeah, that's not obvious because that's not how pronouns work. But if yours are he, him, then thank you for letting me know. Which
No,
prompt you
but
disagree with?
I believe that in my
Which
opinion,
prompt you disagree with, JK?
out of those that you have listed, all of
Sorry.
them.
All of them?
Yeah.
Cool. Which one do you want to talk about?
Men preferring youth in a partner is predatory. How is that predatory?
So why would men need to prefer youth? What's the reason behind the preference of needing to be with a woman based on her being young?
I think women that are younger, if you're not aware, in terms of how they look, they're obviously more beautiful when they're youthful. As in, for example,
That's
needing
subjective.
yeah, it's subjective, exactly. So if I'm
Subjective.
28 and I see someone that's 25 or 26 or something, or 24, and then I see someone a bit older than me, like 30, 31, I might find the younger girl a bit more attractive because of
Okay.
her skin complexion, her skin, everything. You know what I mean?
Are you going to break up with her in 3 or 4 years' time because she's not beautiful anymore?
No?
Why not though? Like, surely you'd be more attracted to like a 25-year-old at that age because you'd find someone then that's younger and more beautiful. But if you're going to stay with someone who ends up being 28 or 30, how's that any different to then being with a 28 or 30-year-old?
Because you build a relationship with someone.
Right. So what I'm saying
Through
is you're
time,
you're
yeah.
building a relationship
So
based on
are
someone's
you
beauty.
are you so you're saying men preferring youth in a partner equals predatory? Is that what you're saying?
If
So
the
any
reason why
guy,
they if the
and
reason why they want to be with someone is because they're young, then yes, that would be predatory. If it's because they're young, because that's
yeah,
like
but
saying when they get
how
older, you're gonna find someone different because they're not young anymore, right? So
okay, so
therefore,
how
your preference is youth.
yeah, so how would you say then when women say, "Oh, I prefer older guys. I prefer a guy that's older," is that predatory? Because they're only looking for guys that are older.
No, because that's not
Why?
representing youth, is it? That's representing someone who's
Yeah,
older.
but
A
being a
wife.
predator over someone youth than an adult is not being predatory.
Yeah, so again, so like that's the equivalent of me asking, do you think it's okay for a 35-year-old to date an 18-year-old because they say I'm more attracted to 18-year-olds because they're young.
Yeah, but you're giving an extreme example there.
That's not an extreme example. There's men all over this app who are saying it's okay for a 40-year-old to date a 18-year-old. That's literally a very popular
Yeah, but
live. There's loads of these lives that are around, and I'm saying like that kind of rhetoric is predatory.
but then on vice versa, then you should have a problem with women preferring men that are older
No,
because they've
because
got more.
predatory would be in relation to youth, not older.
Yeah, but by someone being old, if they look at an older guy and think, "Oh yeah, he's got more experience in life, he's got more money, he's more set up, he's more stable," and that's why they like that, then why can't a man like a girl that's younger, if he's reached a status in his life at
Woman.
28, 30, and he's built himself up, why isn't he going to want a woman that's younger, more beautiful, that's fertile,
That's
that's
objectifying, isn't it?
you know
What
what
do
I
you mean
mean?
more
What's wrong with
fertile?
it?
What do you
What's
mean
wrong?
more fertile? Women are fertile up until like quite a fairly, older age. Like it's the same as men's fertility drops off roughly the same age that you would think that a woman's fertility peaks as well. It's no different, but there's a high emphasis that it's actually women that deteriorate on this more than men do, which is not true.
No, but men, when it comes to their reproductive system, like they can get a woman pregnant past 40, 45, 50, whereas women
At
tend
what
to
age would the
like
man be?
the men usually when it comes to men's fertility, they normally last longer than women
But again,
usually.
the
And
sperm
with
deteriorates at a certain age, which is the same equivalence in the sense that like a woman less likely to be pregnant at an older age at some point is no different to the quality of sperm that men produce as they get older declines. It's the same concept. It's just that it's always been placed on women having a time clock as opposed to the fact that men also have a time clock. So to
men
try
do
and
have a
make out
time
that
clock. When it comes to fertility, men do have a time clock, but it's slightly the time is larger when it comes to men. Usually, if you look at studies, if you look at scientific evidence, then women's fertility usually drops off sooner than men. You don't even know someone that's 55, 60 can even impregnate a woman.
Yeah, but the
A woman,
quality of
a woman
sperm
that's
is
a woman that's at 60 is not going to get pregnant.
yeah, but again, as I said, the quality of
Yeah.
sperm is massively declined at that age.
Yeah, I know, but there is a difference though in terms of men's and women's fertility. It's not equal. You know, like how you say pronouns him and she and her is all equal. When it comes to fertility, it's not equal. Everything's not equal, you know.
I never said anything about equal when it came to pronouns.
Yeah. Anyways, and men are not the protectors.
Correct.
Yeah. What are your pronouns, by the way? Are you she? Are you're a he?
Yes.
And are you into men, women? Is that
Women.
something? You're into women?
Yeah, is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, based off all these things that you listed, it doesn't seem that way, but that's just my opinion.
Wait, so you could tell someone's sexuality because they are what? Trying to unpack men's misogyny? How's that link?
You're quite feminine, aren't you?
What would be described as feminine?
I don't know. Make a poll and let women decide if you seem feminine or masculine and how you
Well, I'm
feel.
asking the person who it came from, which is you, right? So if you think I'm feminine, explain the reasons why. Because that's just you demonstrating misdirected misogyny, by the way.
The reason why is because most men would disagree with a lot of those things on that list.
That's because most men are misogynistic. That's why they disagree with it. Yeah.
It's not misogynistic. It's being masculine. It's being a man.
No, that's not what it is. Like, you think that being misogynistic is being a man? That's not it.
But anyways, men are not the protectors. I think.
You notice
men
how,
are
like,
not
in
the
this
protectors.
conversation, you resort to ad hominems. You notice that? We're here to educate and you want to get personal. But apparently that's
No,
not.
it's not getting personal. I'm just giving you my opinion about you.
Yeah, that's personal.
Yeah, I'm just giving you.
We're
my
not here to
opinion.
talk about us individually, but you wanted to, right? You wanted to make it about that because you wanted to try and perform in front of people?
Yeah. Anyways, how come you don't believe that men are not the protectors?
Give me an example of how they are.
Yeah, the men are stronger.
Being stronger doesn't make you a protector.
It does.
Did you really hear what you just said? Like,
Yes.
men choose to use that strength in whatever way they want. That doesn't make them a protector. Okay.
So
Because that's
if
like-
you're
Hold on. That's like me saying men are predators because they choose to hold harm towards women and girls as well as men with their strength. So by your logic, we can call men predators because they're stronger.
So if you're walking with your wife or with your woman down the street,
Wait. Address what I've said because you've done this like 3 or 4 times. Every time I make a point, you just divert away because you don't want to respond to it.
what did you
If
say?
you're saying that men are protectors because they're stronger,
Yeah.
and I'm saying that's only like on the basis that they choose to use that strength for those things, then that's the equivalent to me saying men are predators because they choose to use that strength to cause harm. So then you'd have to say they're predators as well.
That doesn't make sense whatsoever.
Okay, I'll explain it to you again because
that line of reasoning makes zero sense.
If you're saying men are protectors, would you say the opposite of being a protector would be maybe a predator or perpetrator of harm?
No.
So what's the opposite of a protector?
So you're not making sense whatsoever. Your analogy doesn't make sense.
You're deflecting again. What's the opposite of a protector?
Someone that doesn't protect.
And how would they not protect? What would they be doing instead?
Shall I give you an example?
Sure.
All right, a man that's not a protector is someone where they've got a wife and a threat comes along. Other men try to like push their woman or something, and a man that's not a protector would just stand there and
But
say,
that's not-
sorry.
That's not
Can we
using their
resolve?
strength.
Can we resolve this? Can we speak about this?
That's not
sorry for
using their
hurting my
strength.
woman.
then, is it?
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah,
a
but
man
you
that's
spoke-
not a protector is someone
You
that's not
spoke about
protected.
strength.
It's not a predator. It's not a predator.
You spoke
The opposite.
about strength.
The opposite of a protector isn't a predator.
You spoke about strength and the ways that men use strength to be a protector. So if I'm giving you an example of how men can also use their strength to be something like a predator, then if your point is based on strength, I will use the point of strength to show how men also display harm. So then we can call them both. You want to call them a protector, you also have to call them a predator because they use that strength to cause harm.
Yeah, of course. You're right. Men are protectors.
So that's
Men are
contradictory
predators.
to then
Listen.
calling men as a generalization protectors.
Yeah, men are protectors. Men are predators. Women are protectors because they can protect, and women are predators as well.
And why was
So
the
what's the point?
gender stereotypical traditional role of a man always labeled as a protector and a provider if they are not those things? We should have called them
Because
protectors, providers, and predators, shouldn't we?
because based off what I said, men, when it comes to physical things, men are stronger and they protect their woman. If some threat came, they
You're
would
not
protect
answering the
them based
question.
off that
Like the
threat.
fourth time
Yeah?
you've deflected. You can't
In,
keep
in
on
that
track
in
every
that
time.
situation, is a woman going to protect the man?
You're giving a
Or is a man,
hypothetical,
which
and that's like
advantage
me.
does
That's like
does the man have an advantage in that
you're giving a
moment, or does the woman have the
hypothetical, and that's
advantage?
like me giving a hypothetical to say the opposite. This is why your argument falls flat. You're saying the exact same thing that I could say in the opposite way because you're giving anecdotes. You're giving hypotheticals. I'm talking about real world stuff that happens regularly. How are men protecting on a daily basis? Not randomly you're walking with your partner and someone starts on you. Like that's not how. If you're saying men protect on like a whim, then that's not how men are protectors, is it?
No, I'm going to stick to my beliefs because men are protectors over women.
Okay, you just haven't been able to demonstrate it.
I have.
You haven't. You gave a hypothetical.
How's that hypothetical when
Because
it happens in real life?
Sorry, how old did you say you were?
28.
Okay, 28. And in your, what, 9 years of being an adult, how many times have you had to step in front of your partner because another person was
What do you
causing
mean
harm?
9 years? You mean 10 years?
I thought you said, sorry, I thought you said 29. 28, sorry. Yeah, 10 years. How many times have you had to do that?
To do what?
How many times have you had to step in front of your partner to be able to protect her because there's danger coming?
That's the thing is, by nature, I'm her protector. By her feeling safe around me.
That's
Why
not
do
us.
women
That's
hug
not,
their men
like,
and put
do you know what?
their,
If you're going to keep dodging all my questions, there's no point in you being here.
yeah, because
I
you
asked
don't
a simple
understand.
question. You
don't
gave an
understand.
example. This is the second time you give an example, and I'm saying let's go with your example in how that's relating to you. How many times have you had to do the example you gave of how men are protectors?
Listen, when it comes to a man and a woman, why does a woman
Last chance, or I'm just going to drop you. Answer the
what,
question.
0?
Fine. So then you are not a protector?
Yes, I am.
But the example you gave of how men protect, you've never done it.
But there's so many examples where men have jumped in and protected women.
So again, give me examples of how men are protectors on something they need to do on a daily basis that represents that, rather than just, hey, I'm going to give you an example of how men protect. But just to let you know, it's something I've never done. It's a ridiculous claim. You've never done it yourself. So why can't you talk about something that you do regularly that protects?
Yeah, I'm saying by nature we protect. Like
That's-
I said,
that's not
when it
true.
comes to feminine nature and masculine nature, why do women, like, this example that you see, like if you visualize a woman hugging a man, lying down with him, putting her head on his chest and feeling safe, because
Are you okay?
he is her protector. Do you get it?
Are you feeling safe just laying on a man? What are you talking
Yeah.
about? Seriously, like,
So
what are you doing? Seriously, like, what, men are protectors because a woman can lay on his chest and just feel comfortable.
Yeah, that's how she sees and how feels about man.
You're just
Yeah,
trolling.
exactly.
You're just trolling. So what I got from that is men are protectors, and he's never had to do that in 10 years. So can you give me another example? Yeah, when a woman puts her head on your chest and feels comfortable and safe. Wow. It's a lot for men to be protectors, isn't it? If that's what they're doing. Goodness me. Tyler, age and pronouns, please. No, not coming up. Sards. Oh, sorry, Tyler. Hello. Age and pronouns, please.
I'm 45 and I'm male.
And your pronouns?
Well, I'm male, so whatever pronouns you put with males.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that. So pronouns?
Oh, fucking hell, he, him. Are you one really? Is it like a subordination thing that you've got to comply with your weird pronoun stuff?
It's not weird. That's just how pronouns work. You learnt them since school.
It's not. The pronouns worked for the whole of human history in one way, and then in the last 5 years, you lot have changed them.
Goodbye. Stav, that's ableist. So you're going to get a mute. Goodness me. Oh, to be fair, I didn't see the picture. Restore Britain. Fair enough. Should have read that. Jack, age and pronouns, please.
Sorry, excuse me.
Hello?
Can you hear?
No, not quite. Isaac, age and pronouns, please.
21 and he, him.
Thank you. That was so easy. Which prompt do you disagree with?
So I agree with everything bar one thing, and maybe it's because I'm reading it too surface level, but the men's friendships at surface level, like, do you mean like all friendships or the majority?
Majority, not all.
Okay, well then, yeah, that's fine. No point me being here. Cool.
I
Thank you very
appreciate you
much.
clarifying. Thanks,
No worries.
Isaac. Have a
Thank you
good
very
one.
much.
Cheers. She'd. Nope. JK, don't re-request. You wouldn't even answer any of my questions. And then when you gave an example, you weren't even an example of it. Papa, age and pronouns, please.
I am 22 here.
Thank you. Which prompt do you disagree with?
That men are not the protectors.
Okay. Can you give me an example of how men are protectors?
Well, for example, single mother households are more likely to get robbed. I think just the fact that a man isn't in the house, it makes them more vulnerable. Men being in the house is a deterrent.
Okay. Have you got any like statistics on how it's specifically more disproportionate to single mother households than not? Because that just sounds like a random claim that you've made up out of nowhere.
I mean, I can get the study.
Yeah, if you could, that'd be great.
read
I think one thing you need to consider is it not men that are breaking into the houses?
It probably is.
Okay, so then arguably the only reason why she might be more vulnerable is because of a man's behavior in the first place, right?
But yeah, wouldn't that just be men who aren't doing their job as a protector?
Well, it's not a man's job to be a protector. That's just what patriarchal conditioning has done to men, is telling them that it is. The only way that a man...
Thousands of years, though.
Sorry?
It's been like that for thousands of years. Like the family unit,
Yeah, so is misogyny.
the head of the household has been the
Yeah,
protector.
that's what misogyny is, right? It's been around for about 13,000 years. So saying it's been around for years doesn't remove the misogyny behind the reasoning of it. The only way
Why
that
is it
men...
misogynistic? Right?
Because it pushes
it's
men
just
and women...
they're stronger.
Strength... Again, strength has got nothing to do with being a protector. It's a choice. If you are choosing
Being
to
a
use
strong
that strength...
person makes it easier to be a protector.
If you are choosing to use that strength as a way to cause harm, then men are not protectors, are they?
Well, some people choose to cause harm, but if you use your strength to protect, you're a protector. And men, I say it comes easily to them, more easily.
But then that's like saying it comes easy to men to be perpetrators and predators, doesn't it?
Yeah, I agree with that.
So you can't have both. If we're going to call men the protectors and providers, when we also recognize men are the predators, we need to give them that label as well, right? We can't just give men the label of protectors.
Yeah, they can be both.
Yeah, but that was never what they were
they're
called.
more apt at being a protector than they are.
That's never what they were called, though. You can't be more active as a protector if the only way you protect is when someone causes harm. The only time you will protect is when harm comes your way. Otherwise, what are you doing to protect? Nothing. So you can't say that it's like men are more doing that when it's only on the basis of men being violent. Like, that's like saying men benefit off of men being violent. That doesn't make sense either.
Well, it's not just men being violent, right? Women can be violent in their own way. They just can't express aggression the same way men can because they're not as strong. It's just evolution.
That doesn't mean they can't still express aggression in a similar way. What do you think?
They can, yeah.
How do you
like the woman who killed her kids?
Unalive, TikTok friendly language. So what about when women and femme presenting people are subject to harm online? How are men protecting physically for that?
I didn't hear the first part. What about
So
online?
we know that online misogyny and harm has increased massively in the last 2 or 3 years, especially with things like Grok AI technology. So how are men being a protector for something like that when you're talking about men being physically stronger? What protection are men doing for those things?
Oh yeah, it's a facet of protection that strength isn't involved in, but a father can still protect his child from that, and a woman can too. I'm not saying like a mother can't be a protector either.
So then why was it always men that are the protectors and not women as well? If women are also always...
Because for the last thousands of years, strength has been the determining factor in protecting your family.
on the basis that men are using that strength to cause harm.
Yeah.
So you see how it works?
Or-
It's kind of like the equivalent of me tripping you up and you hurting yourself, me saying sorry and going, well, I said sorry, so it's okay, right?
Well, no, they're different men.
Yeah, but then there's no difference to another man tripping someone up and doing the same thing.
No. Well,
You can apply it to anyone.
I don't know about that.
But that's literally what it is. It's like, hey, let's praise me for saying sorry for something I did. Let's praise me for...
Well, no. If, say, a man is protecting his family from a man who broke into his house, he's
Yeah.
not the man who broke into his own house.
Oh, okay, I see your
It's
point on
just-
that bit. Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
okay.
putting all men under the same umbrella like that, it's the dangerous ideal.
Where did it say all men?
Men are not the... yeah, you're right. But you just implied it.
I didn't imply it. I didn't say
in
all
your
men.
argument.
I didn't imply it. I didn't say all men aren't protected.
But when you said that you'd be tripping yourself up and then asking for praise for it, like picking yourself up,
Sorry, just
that's implying that all men are predators and not protectors, and we're all the same.
So my point is more that if you can't give any examples of how men are protectors, then I don't see why they've got the label. And if the only example you're giving of men being protectors is dependent upon men causing harm in the first place, then I'm saying men need men to be violent to be called protectors. And therefore that is not something men should be striving to be. Because the
Well,
only way
no,
you
women
can be a
can be
protector...
violent too. Women
Yeah,
can
but
be violent
men
too.
are not. Hold on, men are not protecting against women. That's the point. It's disproportionately men.
They are though.
No, they're not. Statistically, men are disproportionately harming women.
Men being around, like say, let's talk about a single mother. The child of a single mother is less likely to be successful than the child of a two-parent household.
That's not necessarily always true.
It's statistically true. Yes, it's
So
very true.
who's the responsibility for that then?
The man for leaving, but a man being around creates like it. You're acting like there's no benefit of men.
No, I didn't say that. You decided to bring something up about single mothers when we're talking about how men are being protectors. Like you just completely diverted the conversation to something different.
But like that's another facet of protection that doesn't require strength. Like just a man being around.
So you're saying that a man just being present is protection, which would be the exact same for the mother, a woman.
It's not the exact same.
Of course,
Single
it is.
father
Hold on,
households have a
You can't-
higher.
Hold on. You can't say that a man's presence equals a protection, but a woman's presence doesn't in a household. That's ridiculous. Nothing's going on in your
Well-
household that you should be needing protection from. So just being there doesn't suddenly mean that you are a protector just because you are physically there.
Well, it's a single father households versus single mother households. The children that come out of that environment are way more likely to be successful.
So again, that's not answering the question.
Just men being around
Nothing to do with
creates better
protection.
children.
That's got
And that's
nothing
like
to
the
do-
main role of a protector is to protect women and children.
got nothing to do with protecting. Hi, Kitty.
Hi, Kitty42, she, her. Papa, what's your... Oh, that's interesting. The teacupping. Shall we wait till they come back? No girls are picking anyone in this space because they're children. Just to be very clear in the chat. Hi, Papa. What's the fixation regarding single mothers? Because you keep making a lot of claims without dropping any sources. Could you provide some sources, please, regarding your claims about single mothers? Wasn't that interesting? The minute I come up, the teacup in begins.
Yeah, we might have to drop soon if Papa's
Yeah, because there's many people who are very keen to be educated in the requests. I'm so excited.
No, I can see them all.
I know, it's delightful.
All right,
Let's-
let's leave it
yeah.
there with Papa then.
Okie dokie. Also, just quickly, chat, no ableism, no personal insults, no coming in on accounts with the same usernames as the mods. It's many things. Please don't. Anyway, bye.
Thank you, bye. Right. Who are we going with? Jaden, age and pronouns, please. Oh, the cow. Hello.
Hello.
Hiya, age and pronouns, please.
I just wanted to say that your opinions are trash.
I just need your age and pronouns. I don't want you to prove to me that men aren't protectors by you saying nonsense. Do you want to have a conversation about the prompts, or are you here to just, like, I don't know, perform? I'll give you one last try.
Your opinion.
Okay, don't worry about it then. It's obviously difficult for some, right? To just, yeah. Alpha! Age and pronouns, please.
21, and my pronouns is he and him. What's your pronouns so I can respect them too?
Sure, thank you for asking. Which prompt do you disagree with?
So, well, the first one, don't mention misandry until there's misogyny, and body count doesn't matter.
Let's talk about body count, because we don't talk about that much here. What's your issue with a woman's body count?
No. I got an issue with both body counts, like male and female, not just women.
This
And
is talking about men's behavior and men's misogyny. So we're talking about how men view women. I don't
yeah,
really care that you don't uphold a double standard. That's up to you.
no,
But
okay. So then, I'll just go talk about misandry then. So no. I'm sorry if I'm confusing you. Misandry and misogyny is the same logic that racists use to justify hate. Am I wrong? Am I wrong in saying that?
I think you're wrong in the sense that, for example, I don't believe that BLK people can be racist to whitey people.
No. I'm saying, and you're okay. So can you give me a proper example to justify misandry or misogyny by any chance?
So misogyny is the patriarchy, the system that we live in, which is upheld
Yes.
by that behavior.
Yes.
We don't have a system for misandry.
Yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, like an example, like,
Yeah,
okay,
like women disproportionately being unalived by men, great.
you're right about that. You're right. You're right
Healthcare,
about that.
legal, education disparities, unpaid labor disparities,
And
social media.
and you do realize who set that system up, right?
Correct.
White elite males.
Correct.
Yeah, because back then I wasn't considered human, and on a whole other scale, white women were behind that. Am I wrong? Am I wrong in saying that?
So again, we're talking about men and women, gender, and we're talking about misogyny. So can you tell me how women have found a way to oppress men based on their gender?
Okay. Let's talk about Emmett Till. Yeah. You know what happened with Emmett Till, right?
Just bear with me 1 second. I think Staples is the moderator, and she's come up to say something. Hi, Staples.
Hi, 44 she, her. Guest, you're asking about real examples of misogyny. I'd point you towards your own bio.
My own bio.
Yeah, I will smash your mum in.
Oh. That's a troll. That's a troll thing.
Yeah, that's misogyny and that has harmful consequences. You having that on your bio, someone else thinks it's funny. Someone else repeats that. A younger child hears it. A younger child repeats that. Do you
And
see how the cycle perpetuates?
And I will, what's the proper word for it? And condemn that child for saying things like that.
How are you condemning them for doing something you're doing? Sorry.
There's a difference from a child and an adult.
Why would you let an adult say that? It's disgusting.
I mean, I never said I would let an adult say that. I said, yeah. First of all, I condemn what I said. At the end of the day, I am a gimmick account. So right now I'm playing the role as a quote unquote alpha male. So I say things so people can think that what I am when that's really not who I am. If that makes sense.
And that's a privilege that you have. So I'll leave it on that one.
Thank you, Stables. Appreciate it.
No worries.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Sorry, Donedo. I saw you requesting, but I knew I wasn't going to be platforming long. Oliver, age and pronouns, please.
Hello?
Hello. Age and pronouns, please.
18, he, him.
Thank you. Which prompt do you disagree with?
Well, I was going to ask about the don't mention misandry until there's no misogyny. And I was wondering about, I just think that you can have both at the same time. Not to say that misogyny isn't, of course, well, larger, but still you can't just, well, I mean, dismiss the other ones. It does exist in certain scenarios. But, well, misogyny is, of course, more important because it is larger.
The reason why I have an issue with it, right, is because if misandry disappeared tomorrow, nothing really would change for men. Like,
Yeah.
genuinely, nothing would change, right? But if misogyny disappeared for tomorrow, a lot would change for men in
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
beneficial way, right? So I believe that when men try to claim misandry exists or that we should talk about it, I look at that as men just trying to find another way to control and tone police women. Because essentially all it is men getting upset that women having a voice online saying they hate men and men taking it personally is their way of saying, oh, this is misandry, and that's just making things worse for you, which is victim blaming and Darvo. So for me, if men can't recognize how misogyny, deeply ingrained in patriarchy, is affecting men, then they're either not equipped for the conversation yet, or they are just trying to find a way to continue to blame women.
Oh, yeah. I agree as well. That point you said with what, like, it won't affect men, I think that's a really good one because, well, it's more so that men just point it out because they don't want to acknowledge misogyny.
Yeah, I agree.
Still, I mean, at some certain says it could be true, but it's just so, well, little. That doesn't matter. You know.
All right. Appreciate it, Oliver.
I was just wondering, can I ask another question?
Yeah, is it a different prompt?
Yeah, the body count one.
Yeah, sure. What should I say about it?
What was your analogy behind that one?
So I think if men have an issue with a woman's body count, it's rooted in misogyny. It's rooted in misogyny or insecurities. And I think that that's driven from the interpretation of what that body count means to them, that number.
Okay, I see.
That then gets projected onto body count being the problem because men don't want to take accountability for their own problems, which is the misogyny or insecurities.
Okay, so you mean it's more like men bringing it up because they want to be like the ones that have all the control?
Part of that, yeah. I mean, look, women's bodies have always been policed by men anyway. Men brought out the narrative that a woman's body is tied to her value of how many sexual partners that she's had.
Okay.
Because that's a representation in history of how women's best chance of finding a husband was to be as close to a virgin as possible. So that's why you had fathers protecting their daughter's virtue, because they wanted the best possible lives for their daughter, even though it was done in the sense of transferring the property of, I've taken care of her for these many years, now it's your turn. You take care of her, I'm passing her over to you. Right? That same onus was never placed on men. So it's always rooted in misogyny, purity culture anyway.
Do you still think it's like, well, okay to care about body counts is, well, for both sides to just have like, well, I don't know, a bit of a, well, just to like care about the way that they just like respect themselves, or is that also rooted in that, like for both sides?
So I think, for example, let's say that it's rooted in an insecurity. I would say that if it's rooted in insecurity, that's fine because we all have insecurities, right? We all have insecurities. But if you project that insecurity onto the other person, you're not managing your emotions effectively or respectfully, right? So let's say you met a woman and she said that she's got a body count of 20, and you feel a certain
what?
way about that.
Your voice cut out.
She's got a body count of 20 and you feel a certain way about that, right? If you were to say, listen, I feel a little bit uncomfortable with how many men you've slept with. I'm going to find that difficult to connect with you, so I'm going to just go my separate ways, right? You're taking ownership for how you feel about the body count. You're not basically saying that because she's had schmecks with 20 people, she's a problem. You're saying that you own that insecurity. That's fine. Like, if men would actually do that more, they'd probably get a lot more respect from women because they'd be just honest about it. But a lot of men don't want to acknowledge that because they'll view the insecurity as a weakness or something that's, seen as less masculine. It's not. It's just we all have insecurities. Own it and stop trying to blame women. It's very simple. All right, I'm going to switch the guests up. That's okay, Oliver. So I've got quite a few people waiting.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming up. Take care, buddy. Bye-bye. I do apologize to those in the request because I don't know what order people requested at. Rusty, age and pronouns, please.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep. Age and pronouns, please.
Okay, 26, and I guess he, him. Sorry, English is not my first language, so I'm not entirely sure. I guess he, him.
Sure. Which prompt? Do you disagree with?
Okay, so I disagree with the first one, but I would like to clarify. I mean, to have a clarification, because I guess it's fine for men to date younger women. Like, as I said, I'm 26, so I guess it's fine for me to like look for a woman who is 22, maybe. So clarification on that, please, if you can give a clarification on that, because I feel like it's not exactly a problem as long as the age gap is not too high. That's what I'm trying to say. Sorry, English is not my first language. Sorry, I'm struggling. Yeah.
Sorry, 1 second. Just need to mute some triggered men in the chat. Essentially, what it's about asking yourself is: are you trying to date women that are younger than you based on the fact that they are young, like youth? Is that the reason why? If you are searching for that, then you would need to ask yourself why it is, right? If you meet someone who's like within your age range and you get on with them really well, then you're not actually connecting with them because you have been looking for someone who's young. Whereas there are people on this app that will say it's okay for a 40-year-old to date an 18-year-old, right? And I'm saying like, that's predatory because you're focusing on the youth aspect, and that's why I'm saying that for me, if that's your primary reason as to what you're looking for, then yeah, that's predatory.
Oh, okay. No, I wanted to clarify on that because I was kind of confused. And the second one that I also would like to have clarified, if you can, is men can't hold women accountable. I mean, I think there are some cases in which I don't know, a man can say to a woman, "Look, what you're doing is wrong. It is maybe even toxic." Like, it happened to me a couple of times to kind of to see women doing some toxic things, and I had to intervene because it felt wrong to just leave it there in the open and not doing anything.
Okay, so what I would say is men collectively hold on to misogyny and need to unpack that. That's something that men can collectively be held accountable for by men and women, right? But if you are looking at things that you think women are collectively doing that is disproportionately affecting men, there isn't anything. Like, if you found someone who cheated on their partner, you could hold them accountable individually for that, but that's not a representation of holding them accountable because they are a woman, right? So that's the point, right? Collectively, when men say women need to be held accountable for this, it's like, what? What is it that women really need to be held accountable for that you are not already doing more than women as men? So that's pretty much what the explanation is. All right.
So for what I'm getting is all these statements here are basically the people who have problem with sexism or misogyny in general. Am I reading that correctly?
This live is unpacking men's misogyny and at times tapping into their insecurities and the ways that they can dismantle patriarchy. If they want to be part of the solution, great. If they want to be part of the problem, they'll show themselves.
Okay. Well, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers for coming up. Bye-bye. Appreciate the clarification, Rusty. So for those in the request looking for men who disagree, why is the title called Lemon? Let's educate men on. That's just, I don't know, seemed to be quite flowing. Big K, age and pronouns, please.
Hello. I'm 18, freshly, and my pronouns are he, him.
Thank you. Which prompt do you disagree with?
So I agree with everything except for the last one that says men's friendships are surface level. I just wanted clarification.
Yeah, so I think that if we're to look at the things that have changed in society lately, right? Some of those things would be men's self-unaliving rates have got worse in terms of it's got higher. Men's mental health is getting worse. Women are divorcing more from men. Women are, like, birth rates are declining. Women are choosing to stay away from men a lot more in terms of like not wanting a relationship. And if we were to try and like look at the reasons why this is happening, women's preferences or standards are not what they used to be because they are pushing through patriarchy, right? Breaking through the patriarchal expectations of what women should be looking for in men. For example, protector and a provider, right?
Yeah.
Women are more and more increasingly becoming aware that men are not those two things. Not to try and shame men for it, but just to recognize that in this world, there's more dual household incomes now than there ever has been because it's that much more difficult to live in this world economically. That's the first thing, right? Secondly, the concept of being a protector, men are disproportionately harming women, girls, and femme-presenting people more and more each year. The stats are not getting better, they're getting worse, okay?
Wait, sorry. Are we talking about surface level friendships or the protector one?
No, I'm getting there. Like it's all intertwined, right? That's absolutely fine. I appreciate you asking. So the point I'm making is women's preferences and standards in men now are they're looking for kindness, communication, and emotional intelligence. Those are the things that women are starting to look more towards because they want a present man in the relationship or a present partner, right? Now, if we look at those three skills or qualities, men have never collectively, as role models or, you know, quote unquote masculine men or fathers and grandfathers, they've never encouraged their sons to be those three things. Instead, what's pushed is this idea of suppress your emotions, don't cry, don't express vulnerability. That makes you weak, that makes you less masculine. And so what's taught to boys from a young age is how to suppress your emotions, not how to identify them, not how to manage them, and not how to engage in them in a healthy way. You now go and put a load of boys together that have been raised in the same way. When one or two of them might be upset or crying, they are not going to rush over to empathize and support because in their eyes, that's not what boys do. They haven't started learning the skills on how to be supportive. They've learned how to suppress. And they might look at that boy and think, oh, he's not suppressing his emotions, rather than, hey, he could do with like, you know, he could do with some help, some support. As you grow older, those things become more and more embedded into you, mixed with all the misogyny that's around you. And that's what I'm saying. Men form friendships from maybe teenage age. They form friendships around things like gaming, sport, music, when they're older going to the pub, talking about girls or women. That's the kind of stuff that boys and men actually form friendships around, okay? When that happens, if someone, for example, is going through depression or anxiety, instead of actually supporting them because they haven't learned how to, it's met with deflection and avoidance. It's like, hey, come on, let's go to the pub, you'll forget about it. Firstly, to those in the chat, like Lucas, who's completely unaware of the words I'm saying, never once said all men. Like, stop getting personal with something. I didn't say all men. The prompt doesn't say all men. Like, focus, all right? So when that happens, you then start to have a society of more and more men who are responding to those situations like that. Men feeling more afraid to actually be vulnerable with their friends because they might get judged, they might get ridiculed, they might get called less masculine. So instead they hold it in, they keep it to themselves. That's where the knock-on effect is on the mental health, self-unaliving. And that's why I think they're surface level, because they will talk about things that deflect and avoid what really matters deep down. And that manifests and eventually comes out, sometimes too late.
Okay, I think that's definitely a fair perspective, but I think also I view things through a different lens. Like my final year of high school was just finished like a couple months ago. I'm going into university fresh, and I'm from Canada. I'm from Toronto. So we have this thing called like Bell Let's Talk, for example, where
Nice.
basically Bell is like a telephone company, and they basically talk about mental health through all different types of lenses, whether it be mental health in a relationship, mental health on your own, mental health in school, all of these different things. And it's encouraged more and more to speak about your emotions. And I will say that there's some people who choose to be more closed off, and I think your point about especially younger kids nowadays bonding over things such as games, bonding over things such as sports, these types of things. But I believe that as their relationships get closer, they become more comfortable confiding in their friends. And I think that nowadays people are much more willing, or men specifically are much more willing to engage in discourse about their deepest feelings or the deepest emotions, especially when they're going through a rough time. Because as we see lots of youth around us who are committing self-harm and going past that, as we see that happening more and more around us, we want to make sure that our friends are not suffering the same, I guess, suffering the same paths and are not suffering alone. And I think, I mean, personally, I've had friends who have gone down that path. I have friends that I've lost, and it's not necessarily an easy thing to talk about. It's not necessarily an easy thing to go through, but I think everybody wants to see the best in their friends. And I think maybe more misogynistic friend groups, if it's more difficult for them to communicate about their emotions, but I feel like that's becoming more and more of a fringe, and I feel like it's becoming a lot more acceptable for men to talk about their feelings.
I think it is. I agree. I think it's becoming more acceptable, and I hope so, because that's what needs to change. My reiteration on that point is, in the last 4 or 5 years, we've been met with huge red pill influence, right? If you go back to when COVID happened, and Tandrew 8, whatever his name is, came out with all of the things that he said online when people weren't able to socialize because we had to all be, staying at home, and that was pretty much what a lot of teenage boys were consuming. Him and the red pill movement push rhetorics around things, how depression isn't real, right? How you need to man up, how your emotions are forms of vulnerability that you've got to toughen up and push through, right? That was a huge influence to teenagers, to the point where schools banned his name being mentioned, right? That was literally the effect that it was having online and reaching so many people. So the point I'm making is, yes, things are changing, but the statistics show that they're not changing either fast enough or not getting better. And I'm saying that when you have that much to deal with in terms of combating, like the online, what's the easiest way that we can do it on an individual level? We look at education and parenting styles, right? I still think there are a lot of fathers. Like, I'll ask you this question, because I realize I've maybe sort of led with a bias there, but just out of curiosity for you, let's say that you have a dad who has a 4-year-old son, right? And he walks into like a charity shop and he says, listen, you've been really good today. I'm going to treat you. Go and pick any toy in this charity shop, right? Okay. He goes and gets the toy and he comes back to you with a Barbie doll. What percentage of dads do you think will tell him to go and put that back because that's a girl's toy, or because they don't want him to buy that?
I would say above 50%.
I'd say much higher, yeah. But what percent would you go with?
I would say 75.
Cool. Okay. So if we're saying 75%, right, I'm saying already that's an example of one problem amongst many, right? Dads feeling conditioned from the patriarchy to believe that that's something their son can't do because of their personal fears of what that might represent to him and his image, the amount of men that think that it makes them GAY because they're playing with a Barbie doll, rooted in homophobia, right? Or the fact that it might look like uncomfortable for them to see their son playing with something that they would typically view as what girls play with. Why? Because that's what you see on adverts. That's what you see on the toys. That's what you see with the colors, right? The point I'm making is, because misogyny is so ingrained everywhere, there's so much of it to battle with, but it starts early. It literally starts so early. And I don't think there are enough fathers out there that are doing enough to make a change for their sons into this new generation on the basis of preparing them for the world that they will be living in. Because yeah, things change generation to generation. We can always say like, oh, when I was younger, things were different. I get that. But we're becoming more and more educated on these things and recognizing how we can make a change. I don't think that there are enough dads out there doing enough. And I don't think the school education system is doing enough either, in terms of, having time for children to talk about their emotions and feelings, where they all respect one another, not based on their gender. They don't like shame each other who express emotions because they're a boy or because they're a girl. They all respect one another equally, because they show actually a feeling can happen to anyone, and we can all learn how to support that individual because we recognize what the feeling is, rather than viewing them whether or not they are a boy or a girl. So I agree with you that it's being more spoken about, but I don't think it's enough. I think it's not, like, the amount of men that have come into this live alone who have clearly made it very obvious how they feel about a lot of these topics. You get far more men disagreeing than agreeing.
Yeah, I do.
And that's just one live, but yeah, over to you.
I think, well, firstly, I didn't say this before, but I think what you're doing is fantastic. And I think it's really good to educate lots of people, because a lot of people, instead of being necessarily hateful, they may be like misinformed. So I think what you're doing is great. I think it's really good to put this to a live audience and answer other people's questions when other people, like, for example, I was going to ask you about the men can't hold women accountable, but the answer you gave to the previous gentleman was perfect, and I think it's incredibly accurate. But back on topic, I do think that my perspective might be a little bit different since the school I went to was like very accepting and very open, and people were very comfortable speaking about their emotions. And for example,
Good.
I used to do studies with my school. Like I used to run some studies, and basically it was like surveys based on how comfortable people felt. Like I did a specific like project on this about how comfortable people were to speak to guidance counselors, to speak to their friends, and that sort of thing. And a high percentage of people in my school, both men and women from all different age groups, it was a high school, they all felt moderately comfortable speaking about their emotions, maybe not towards the guidance counselors as much, not towards adults, but with their own friends, because they feel a lot more comfortable. But I can recognize that that could be regional, that could be a part of my school. The fact that, number one, it wasn't a secular school, it was a Catholic school, so it was centered around being like very good to each other, I guess, which may not be everybody's experience, but that was the rhetoric that was pushed, to be good and kind to each other. So
Yeah, and look, I love that for you and the school that you were at. I don't think that's as accessible to the majority, right?
Okay, I think that's fair.
I think you mentioned there was like a line or a call line that people could call into for the mental health support.
Yeah, guidance
you know,
counselors.
yeah, I like that. That's not accessible, I think, in the majority, at least. I think that's a minority, which again is good. We need more of that. I think that's fantastic. But I think also what would be really helpful is that we could encourage students to be able to do that without the need of that extra, online support being required, because they can actually do it with each other. They can almost rely on each other for that.
Well, personally, my school, like I didn't mean like it was like an online call line. Like you go in person, you can talk to anybody.
Okay, sorry.
But it's
So
like me personally.
counselor that's there on site.
Yeah, it was me personally. I would do surveys around the school asking about different things, and one of the surveys that I did was about people's comfortability speaking about either either to their friends or to guidance counselors or adults around the school about the topic. But I can definitely understand that may not necessarily be a majority. But another point that you mentioned was the rise of red pill creators that are kind of undoing the good that was previously being done. But I do also feel like I feel like red pill is kind of like fringe, but it's just because it's on social media and because it evokes lots of emotion, whether positive or negative, from people. It just gets pushed onto people's feed more. But I still do think it's like fairly fringe, especially as generations are getting more and more modern.
I disagree with that. I think it's actually very much plastered all around everyone's face. Like
I agree.
They are platforming. I think that has a huge effect. Huge effect. It only takes one person in a group of boy friends to like watch something, share it with their mates, and go, "Oh my god, I agree with this," and then boom, that's on their For You page with more and more of that rhetoric. It does not take long for boys to go down the red pill route, as opposed to staying away from it when it's put in their face. It's very easy for boys to get indoctrinated with that rhetoric because
That's
it's
fair.
Yeah.
I was going to bring a different example, but I can understand that my experiences maybe like I made this like stuff that has happened to my friends and stuff that has happened to me is maybe outliers to the situation, and I'm not necessarily as well versed.
I do personally believe like disproportionately it's the other way, but I'm glad that you obviously have that. Big K, I've got lots of people waiting, but I do appreciate the chat. If you want to come back, I will be live this evening. But thank you so much for coming
Yeah,
up.
fantastic. Thank you so much.
Take care, buddy. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Really good conversation. Appreciate it. Let's go with James. Age and pronouns, please. 3, 2, 1. No. Okay. Fel, age and pronouns, please.
Hello.
Age and pronouns, please.
31 and he.
Thank you. Which prompt you disagree with?
Men are not the protectors.
Okay. What does that say about it?
I've heard about the other examples that have been mentioned previously.
Yeah.
How about when men go to war? In the majority of people that go to war, it's usually men are going there and protecting their country, protecting their women, their families. Are men not seen as protectors in those circumstances?
So I think with the concept of war, we have to acknowledge that the ones that started it would be men. So we've already got, an issue with the fact that like responding to violence is calling them protectors on the basis that violence occurs. It's the same points with like any example where a man breaking in is like, well, you can only be a protector now if the violence occurs. That concept of war creates families being destroyed, children, women being kidnapped and raped, obviously unalived as well. We also don't have that thing happening on a daily basis. Like, from in the UK, for example, myself, my father, we've never had to go to war. We've never had any of that. So he's around mid-60s. So in 60 years, he's never had to do that. And I would say, obviously, in the UK, the majority of men, that would go for the same. So to try and call men protectors on an event or something specific would not be a representation of then calling them protectors. What are they doing on a daily basis to be called a protector?
Yeah, I think when it comes to wars, I know in the recent times, civilization, there's wars going on right now, Russia, Ukraine, there's always wars going on.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be, specific to the UK, for example.
No, but what I'm saying is that's caused by men as well, right? And so like
if men have caused wars and men have done more rapes and men have done more violence and these things, why do you think men exist? Do you think we should just all kill ourselves? And do you not think
unalive?
Oh, sorry, unalive. Do you not think we should all unalive ourselves as men? Because the way you're speaking is as if men don't have any value or anything.
So
I think that would solve the problem to your issues that men causes wars.
So what you've done is you've basically done 1 + 1 = 1,000, right? I never once said men should unalive themselves. I never once said that men have no value. Like,
do you not think the world would be a better place?
I don't know how you went from that to that, right? Essentially, men just shouldn't be holding violence, full stop. And enough of them are doing it, and it's getting more and more, and that's a problem. So trying to hold men accountable for that doesn't mean unalive yourself. I never once said
Do you not think the world would be a lot better place? Earth would be more peaceful if men didn't exist.
What, safer maybe?
Yeah. So
that's by statistics, isn't it? Like statistically, you couldn't say no to that if technically, from statistics, men are causing the disproportionate harm. So safer, sure, but that's irrelevant to the point of them being protectors.
I think that would be the solution. Get rid of all men.
Okay.
And somehow come up with something. Yeah, I think you should agree with that because
I don't.
You don't agree with that?
No. So I'm going to drop.
What value?
Goodbye. I've said to the men and the guests waiting, if you're going to come up and troll, please be good at it. Seriously. Like at the very least, if you don't want to take it seriously. Oh, sorry, Med. Hugo, Asian pronouns, please. No, okay. Hugo doesn't want to come up. Fine. Unknown, Asian pronouns, please.
Does your girlfriend bum you, lad? No, you're not going to respond.
Do you really think I've not heard?
You look like you look like a bit.
Do you really think I've not heard stuff like this before? Do you think you're special?
Yeah, but it's true, lad. You look like a fag.
Jesus Christ. So for those who haven't been here before, by the way, this is literally what we mean. How men prove the point every single time. And the men that come up and troll, these are the men you're defending. Can we just take that a moment to acknowledge that? I appreciate the hearts in the chat. Can we just acknowledge that, right? You want to defend men like this. Men that can't have a conversation about unpacking misogyny because they're so triggered that they need to project that onto other men. And women, of course. These are the men you're protecting. Lucas, Asian pronouns, please. Hello?
Hello?
Oh, yeah. Asian pronouns, please.
18, he.
Thank you. Disagree with?
I had... Probably my main disagreement was around body count doesn't matter.
Okay. What do you want to say about it?
Well, I think it's kind of reflective of an individual's personality if their body count is significantly higher compared to the average. It's
Okay.
reflective in like
So hold on.
partners with
Hold on. You said it's reflective of their personality, right?
yes, slightly
So at
to a point where it does matter. Yes.
what body count number means that the woman is less likely to be an honest human being? What number body count signifies that?
I never said anything about honest, but
Okay, so let's stop that one.
um,
Hold on. Let's go with respectful.
yep.
What
I
number?
don't think that as well, but I think it's
Okay. So you see how I could
I
keep
think
going
it's
with all these
valid.
different attributes, and we wouldn't really come to a conclusion that body count is directly factual information about someone's personality characteristic.
I think it's more about choosing a partner. I think it's you're able to take it into account, and it's very fair if you would like to do that. I should not be considered like
Okay, let's get to it properly, right? I think that if you're a man who's got an issue with a woman's body count, it's rooted in misogyny or insecurities. Let's say that you meet a woman and she's got a body count of 10. Are you going to continue trying to get to know her? Yes or no?
yes, I would.
Okay. What if it was 15?
I would be more cautious.
What would you be cautious of? What do you think has suddenly changed that you now need to be worried about?
Because at my age, a person who has a body count of 15 has to seek out that through like going out and short interactions with people that don't have much depth, don't have much meaning, just for the sake of pleasure, if that makes sense.
Okay. Why would that
And I
bother
think
you
that's
so much?
because
That's a lot of
it
assumptions.
shows that person values short-term experience over longer-term relationships.
Does it? Or is that your opinion?
It's an opinion, but also saying body count doesn't matter is an opinion.
So the
Right.
reason why I'm saying body count doesn't matter is because I'm combating, love, K, appreciate you, is because I'm combating the men that say it does matter.
Yeah,
That's the point. Men saying it does matter is an opinion. That's not factual.
yeah,
That's why I'm countering it by
Yeah.
saying it doesn't. So the reason why I think men think it does is because it's rooted in misogyny or insecurities. Yours sounds like insecurities because you think that she's going to maybe have schmex with you one day and you're just going to be another number.
What do you think about the statistic that partners that have higher, like previous partners, a higher chance of their first marriage ending in a divorce?
Sure. So let's look at that. Do you think that partners know their body counts before they get into a relationship and get married?
Yes.
Okay. So if you know your partner's body count before you get married, you are not divorcing because of their body count. You're not like with them for a year of marriage and then going, do you know what? We need to get a divorce because your body count is 25. So I don't care about correlation when the causation.
Sorry, may I pause for a second?
Yeah.
There's a few people in the
Don't
chat
worry
saying
about the
cite a
chat.
source.
You're here to talk to me, so don't worry about the chat.
Okay,
If you want to go back to the chat, that's fine. But why are you talking to me?
For
Focus
sure.
on that, right? I don't mean that in a rude way. I'm just saying, like, I want to keep the
No,
conversation.
it's fair. It's fair. Yeah.
So if you are going to have a partner who's got a body count of 25, and
Yes.
you're not then saying I'm divorcing you because of that, right? The reason why you get a divorce is maybe there's abuse. That could be financial, physical, emotional, etc. Someone could have cheated. You could have fallen out of love, or you just don't want to be in a marriage anymore, right? That's
Yeah.
the cause of the divorce. So the correlation is irrelevant because if in all of these studies you're trying to find out why divorce occurs, you could literally just ask those people. Like you could literally just say, "Hey, why did you get a divorce?" and they'll tell you. So
Yeah.
why are correlations trying to be made over something that you could find the answer out for on the specific part of the divorce being what it is that needs to be focused on? For example, some of these studies are done by Family of Institutes, which is a Christian-led study, which pushes a heavy emphasis on marriage. It's a biased study. They believe in marriage. They believe that that's what you should strive towards. We also need to recognize that divorce is a solution. If you're not viewing divorce
Yeah.
as a solution, you're not viewing divorce in the right way.
I agree.
Because if one of you is unhappy in that situation, that's what divorce is for, is to say, do you know what? That benefits us both. Why would you want to be with someone who's not happy, and why would you not want to be with someone when you're unhappy, right? It's not working for both of you. So that's a correlation, and correlation is not what we're looking for. We're looking for the causation. Secondly, just to come back to your personality side of things, let's say you met a woman, you said you're 18, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you met a woman and she's like, I don't know, 19 years old, right? If you're not allowed to ask her what her body count is, how do you know whether you would be compatible with her? What things would you be looking for?
Well, how you connect personality-wise,
Cool. Okay. So
your
whether you get
history
on with each other.
together,
Yep.
say looks maybe.
So like physical attraction.
Yeah.
Would they need to maybe have a similar sense of humor?
Yes, it's very less low on priorities.
Okay. Would they want to have maybe similar interests as each other?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's
Yeah,
say
that's
you
all
meet
set.
someone and you've got quite a few of those things together that you like, and you also feel a certain way when you come away from the date. And that feeling is almost like, I'm excited to maybe see her again, right? You go on a few more dates, feelings start to develop. How long do you think it would take for you to be able to say, I could probably commit to being in a relationship with this person because I've been dating them for this length of time? How long do you think that would take for you roughly?
I think it's depends on the. I don't think I could put a number on it at the moment.
Roughly. I'm not saying this is factual. Like it's you personally. I'm just saying.
Like a relationship? Did you say sorry?
Yeah, like as in, you know what? I've been getting to know you for 4 months. So I reckon I could be in a relationship with you now because I feel like I know you well enough to trust you and commit to that.
I'd probably be a bit less, maybe half that.
Cool. So 2 months, yeah?
Yeah.
So let's say you're now together and you've been together for another 3 months, right? 5 months now you've known her, but you've been in a relationship for 3 months. And this magical button appears in front of you. And if you press that button, you will find out her body count.
Mm-hmm.
First question is, are you going to press it?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the insecurity straight away. Second question, what are you going to do if you find out her body count is 30?
I would talk to her about it and see. It's definitely something that I would like. It would affect me differently in the moment, I think. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I feel like I would be less likely to continue the relationship personally. But I think that's okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I think saying the very broad statement that body count doesn't matter is.
So hold on. You're right. That is okay if you want to leave the relationship, provided you recognize it's your insecurity that's driving you away. Because if you've spent 5 months with her, then everything you've experienced with her was real. The way that you connected, the potential intimacy you had, the laughter you had together, the moments you shared, those are examples of things that were real for you because you got to know her for the human being she is. But the minute you heard a number of something that she'd done before she met you, your mind went, oh, we can't be compatible anymore because suddenly now something has triggered inside me to think this is danger. Even though you've had 5 months together, right?
No, it's a good point, yeah.
So my point is,
it's making me think about it a little differently, yeah.
I appreciate it. My point is, it's not the body count, though, that's the issue. It's your interpretation of that number 30. And your interpretation was, I feel a certain way, and that's the insecurity. So for you to walk away is fine if you were to admit that actually that's a you issue. But if you were to say, whoa, you've been with 30 people, you're a problem, then no, that's now you projecting that onto her. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Men leading with wanting to find out body count is to feed the insecurity. But if you were
you just a bit of clarification. You believe that all men that have an opinion on that all men that change their opinion on a woman based off body count is stemmed from male insecurity
or misogyny.
Or misogyny, yeah.
So misogyny would be like, let's say a man found out a woman's body count was 30 and he was like, oh, you've got no self-respect, or you're low value, or you are like a car that's got high mileage. Like that's misogynistic because you are comparing her to objects. So it's objectifying, dehumanizing, degrading. So that's the misogyny side. The insecurity side.
Do you think that's a completely realistic situation though? That you would not pick up on any sort of cues from a 19-year-old with a 30 body count, say?
But that's the point, is that's where your assumptions came in. And that's why I'm saying when we lead with assumptions, we are not speaking with facts. We're operating off of the feelings that we think it links to, right? So that's why I said to you, does it make them less honest if they have a high body count? Does it make them have less of a sense of humor? And because or less respectful, I think I said, sorry. And because you kept on saying like, that's not what I mean. My point is, but those are the things that you are experiencing of that person when you get to know them for the human being that they are, right? I'm around this person, they make me laugh. I'm around this person, they've been quite respectful. So, and then here's the second part, right? Is because you're very focused on linking it to body count. Let's rewind a bit. You have got to know her for 2 months now. So like same hypothetical, but you've got to know her for 2 months and you don't know her body count, right? Let's say within that 2 months, 3 or 4 times you've gone back to your mates and gone, do you know what? I kind of get on with her, but there've been times where she's been really disrespectful. You know, like for example, like I turned up late to a date once and she was really rude. And then she turned up to the date next time and thought it was okay, like double standard stuff. And, you know, I've heard the way she talks to her friends. You get this feeling that you've experienced her being disrespectful. You might say to her, listen, I don't think this is going to work anymore. And your reasons are because you think she's a disrespectful individual, right? You don't need to know her body count for that. The reason you're not with her anymore or don't want to be with her is because she's disrespectful. So these personality attributes that you think might be exhibited due to body count, you will find them out by being with her anyway. Because when you get to know someone, you're going to experience who they are as a person by the way they communicate with you. So when men try to find a link to body count being the reasons why, that is policing women's bodies. That's basically saying you having sex with a lot of men is the reason why you're like this. It's victim blaming. It's just looking for another reason to try and control women. That's why I always say, view them as the human being that they are, because the body count's not going to give you anything factual about who they are as a person. If their body count's 80, it doesn't mean they're less honest. If their body count's 5, it doesn't mean they're less honest. Literally, you wouldn't know.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you made good points. Can I go over one thing quickly before I...
Is it a different prompt?
Yes.
Yeah, go for it.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
I want to talk about, what do you think, like, on the topic, men are not the protectors?
Yeah.
Like, surely there's some sort of biology that, like, proves that men do have a certain role in society as protectors.
So the reason why that's like a bioessentialist route, right? And the issue with that is recognizing that being on average physically stronger doesn't make you a protector. Because if men are disproportionately harming women, girls, femme-presenting people, and even harming men, then we can't sort of say that biology is the reason to be a protector, because you then have to say biology is the reason to be a predator or a perpetrator of harm. So the biology doesn't link to protective mode when there's also this mode of causing harm anyway. All right, so it's nothing to do with biology. It's social conditioning. It's the way that men have been brought up as boys to believe what their role is as a boy and a man. Now, if men are brought up believing they're a protector, the only way you can fulfill that role is based off of men being violent in the first place. Otherwise, how else are you protecting? Men talk about wars. Men talk about the police force. Men talk about standing in front of their partner if someone is coming up to them for a fight. Men talk about burglaries. All of these are examples of things that men disproportionately cause as a problem to begin with. So men can't give the hypothetical of who's going to protect your house if someone burgles you if tomorrow no men were burgling houses, because it just wouldn't happen. So then men can't protect in that situation.
So you don't believe men can be the protectors and then also be the aggressors at the same time?
No, I think individually, men and women, or everyone even, individually, anyone can protect on certain occasions in the moment, right?
So hypothetically, if there was a woman being sexually assaulted on the street and there was a man standing by, do you not think he has any sort of obligation to society to go help that woman who is under immediate physical threat from the man?
Sure, so the issue is the ways in which men believe that they would help is to be this like Superman hero with a cape on and like beat the other guy up and stuff. And the point is like men always think the way to protect is with violence. You know?
Well, I didn't necessarily say that. I said it's just to stop. It's just to say that the man should. I believe the man should have an obligation to stop the other man from hurting that woman.
But the issue is
because he's a man and because he's more on an equal playing field biologically.
So there's two ways to look at this. No, there's two ways to look at this. One is men statistically escalate situations of conflict and women tend to de-escalate situations of conflict more. So that's the first thing, right? Women are more likely to step in and actually have an effect in comparison to men. Secondly, once again, though, the hypothetical you've given is on the basis of a man causing harm. That's my point. My point is
Yeah,
that whether you feel it's an obligation or not, why is it not an obligation of a man to just not cause the harm in the first place? Rather than being a protector, how about not being a predator? You know, how about being a decent human being? How
yeah.
about
In a perfect world, though,
well, yeah, but my point is like
but like,
that's a defeatist point to say like because we don't live in a perfect world, we have to now have men protecting against men who cause harm, but men get praised for it. That's the problem. Men get praised for being
I
protectors.
think anyone gets praised for it. I don't think. I
No,
think.
they don't. Women don't
I
get
don't think
praised
the
for being
man thing.
protectors. Come on, when have you ever heard like
100% they do.
no, they don't. Because
100%.
they don't. That's the point, right? If you look at history, right, men were always given the label protectors and providers. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay, why weren't women given the role protectors?
We live in a patriarchal society. It's
So there you go. So women don't
and
get the praise for that, right? It's expected of men to be that
no,
role,
but to say that
but women disproportionately
women
do
don't
it.
get. Yeah, sure. I would agree that men, for say, get more praise, but there is
Yeah.
definitely a lot of praise deemed to women for given to women for these things.
I'd say there's a lot more praise from women towards women, not from men.
Sure.
And secondly, I would actually go further on this prompt and argue that women are more protectors than men.
Yeah, I'd agree. But s- okay, I think you've answered a lot of my questions. I just want to say thank you as well. You
No, I appreciate you
being
being respectful.
respectful and stuff.
Yeah, same to you. Listen, you're more than welcome to come back. I'll be live this evening in about 5 hours, and I'll be live again tomorrow, like Monday to Friday, twice a day. So more than welcome to come back again. All right.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Take care, buddy. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I didn't read the entire full message, but I think I got the gist of it. Those in the chat, please be aware the moderators are here to protect the space. I know, ironic, protectors, right? Because this is an educational space. We are not here for you to be using ad hominems. That also includes friendlies who are using ad hominems towards the guest. But moderators are getting DMs from men. If you feel the need to reach out to moderators to harass or abuse them, you need to check in with yourself and ask yourself, why are you doing this? As Kitty just said, spamming Kitty's videos currently. You will just get blocked. It's genuinely sickening because when we are here to educate men and there are men out here who claim that men are protectors and Kitty has got 15 comments on one of her videos, why on earth do you think we're going to sit here and say, do you know what? Men are the protectors. Jeremiah, you've been here plenty of times. If it's not educational by now for you, leave. Don't come back. You don't need to be here. If you want us to block you, say. We don't need trolls. You're here to unpack misogyny, do it. But if you're going on to the moderators, for example, if you're going on to women's videos, King Nug, go away then. I don't need you here. Goodbye. If you're going on to women's videos causing harm, you are demonstrating your misogyny. Literally. Don't claim men are protectors if you're going to act like that. It's vile. Where's HJ? HJ? Oh, there we go. HJ, sorry. I do appreciate you being patient. Age and pronouns, please.
Yeah, it's all good. 21 and he, him.
Thank you. Which prompt do you disagree with?
Okay. So the point I disagree with is the one that says men are not the protectors. I already like the fact that like you've kind of like outlined that like you're not generalizing in any of the prompts. So I respect that. And I also know that like prior to me coming, the people that were like arguing, you were kind of asking them to like give like just like one example. So I just want to give only one example because I know for the other ones you answered them,
Sure.
and just like see your take on that. But I just did a little bit of research before coming, and I saw that like, so one example I'll give is the natural disasters, yeah, and so a study of flood preparedness and response in Serbia. I think this happened in 2022 or 2023. But essentially, it showed that that flood happened, a natural disaster. It was horrible, and it was found that 23% of men in that area, in regards to 11% of women, were reported assisting the flood victims as volunteers. So my question is, if in this case we saw like more or less the majority of the men were, in comparison to women, we saw the majority of the men were the ones assisting the victims and, you know, making sure everyone is okay. Would you argue that in some sense they could be seen as protectors in that light?
Sure. So again, we're coming back to hypotheticals, right? Which is that we're not experiencing floods on a daily basis. So in those moments, that would kind of be the equivalent to saying like, the majority of women that work in, I suppose, fields such as mental health support, the majority of, you know, therapists would be women. The majority of social workers would be women. The majority of midwives would be women, right? Those are situations where, yes, it might not be a natural disaster, but they are still required to be on call to support immediately when something happens. So in those situations when men do that, yeah, like if I'm not saying men can't ever be protective or protect. I'm not saying it can't ever happen. What I'm saying is that to be called a protector on a hypothetical situation that occurs, if there's not a flood for like another 4 years, like that one, for example, because you said it was 2022, right? If there's not another flood for 4 years, now what? You know, so the examples that I give is nurses, mental health practitioners, social workers, teachers, carers, nannies, babysitters, midwives. Those are all roles. I don't know if I said nurses, but if not, nurses as well. Those are all roles that are dominated by women. Yes, there are men that do those roles, no different to how there were 11% of women helping with the floods, right? But the majority are women. Those are roles that require a protective stance. You are safeguarding children. You are caring for the elderly. You are delivering children. Like that's all protective. And that is something that happens on a daily basis, like daily basis. Those things are also not caused by women. So for example, women aren't harming children to put them into schools to be protected. Women aren't harming the elderly to put them into care homes to then protect them. Whereas when men are called on their roles, i.e. the military or the police force, they are called majority of the time because a man or men have done something. They are causing something to then go and protect. Whereas the roles where women are demonstrating to be protectors is not on that basis, and it's, again, daily. Now, if you wanted to look up what percentage of protective roles are held by men versus women, I think it's 9 to 10% men and 20 to 30% women. So even by that statistic alone, more women are in protective roles than men. That's what I mean. It's like daily there are women out there doing those things. Doesn't mean that when a flood happens, if men are going there to deal with that, that's great. Like no one's saying that's a bad thing. No one's saying that we're not grateful for that. It's just like giving them the label protectors for those one-off situations that happen. That's not for me what would demonstrate a protector. I had a man on the panel the other day, and then I'll come back to you, HJ, sorry. But I have a man on the panel the other day, and I said to him, do you think police officers are protectors? And he said, yes. And I said, okay, let's say a police officer is off duty one night. He's at a pub. A woman walks past him, and he catcalls her. Is he still a protector? And he said, yes. And this is the issue, right? Is that because he has done one act of harm, but he has been a police officer, it negates the fact that we can still call him a protector, even if he has upheld harm towards a woman. You know, like an intentional SH, you know, sexual harassment.
Yeah.
That's the point I'm making, right? Is like, that's not being a protector just because, you know, you do whatever needs to be done in the police, but then behind closed doors, that's what you're like. So over to you.
No, okay, yeah, no, you just answered the question, so yeah. I think you've kind of like made it pretty clear your perspective, so I respect that.
Did you just out of curiosity, I don't know, have you ever come up on a different account, or is this your only account?
This isn't my main account, but I've also not come up on a different account before.
Oh, okay. All right, HJ, thanks for coming up. Appreciate it.
All right, appreciate you, bro.
Cheers. Bye-bye. Okay. We have got Tiger Teeth's been waiting a while. They're not here. Yeah, Looms, you have been waiting a while. I thought the same, Kitty, but I thought I'd also ask to make sure. Hi, Blood Orange. Age and pronouns, please.
Hello, mate. 36. Sorry, did you also age?
Pronouns, please.
Pronouns, he, him.
Thank you. Which prompt do you disagree with?
Men's friendships are surface level friendship. I imagine that's probably the most contentious one that you get challenged on, so I'm willing to hear what you've got to say about it.
It's not, if I'm honest, but yeah, we do get some conversations. So my perspective of it is that patriarchy has conditioned boys from a young age to not engage with their emotions. They'd be called less weak, masculine, etc. They get shamed for it. Boys don't cry, all that kind of thing. That gets upheld by their fathers, passing down how they were raised and thinking this is how I'm going to raise like a tough boy into a strong man. I think that when these boys grow up together, because they are all similarly raised in that sense, they don't then explore areas of vulnerability or emotions to support one another when that's needed. And the knock-on effects from that is men's mental health getting worse, men's self-unaliving rates getting worse, women not wanting to be around men as much anymore, divorcing is going up, and birth rates declining. So the knock-on effect of it all is women's standards in men always used to be things like protector and a provider due to patriarchy. Women pushing through patriarchy and dismantling it are now basically saying, actually, that's not all I should deserve or have from a man. I want someone who is emotionally present. So women looking for kindness, communication, and emotional intelligence. Those are things that men have never encouraged boys or men to be or to strive towards being, not just for other people, but for themselves. So for me, I think, boys and men, they form friendships over things like gaming, sports, music, talking about girls or women, going to the pub when they're older. And I think those things are then like depended upon when things get tough to be used as a deflective or avoidant technique. Oh, you're not feeling very good? Like, I'm sure it'll pass. Let's go and take your mind off it. Let's go and do this. Let's go and do that. Similarly, last point, I'm so sorry, there's a lot, but I'll pass back to you after. But similarly, if you look at men who go to the gym, I would argue that men who do go to the gym, you might be looking at 2 to 3 times a week, maybe, and maybe 1 hour each. So maybe 2-3 hours a week men go to the gym. If you were to ask those same men how much time they pay in terms of attention to their mental health, it would be next to none. And something like journaling for 10 minutes a day could be something that would be a huge difference to their mental health. But the reasons why they wouldn't want to do that is because it would be viewed as something like feminine, less masculine, etc. So men don't place a level of importance on those things. And I think in today's world, they need to. That's me for now.
No, it does make sense, and I think that it aligns with the idea that I think a lot of research recently has shown that men have much fewer close relationships, and they do say that they have lower levels of emotional intimacy compared to women. I guess it's a view. My view is based on my personal experience, which I can't apply to men across the UK or more broadly globally. I'm males lucky to have a father and uncles and men in my life that did encourage me to be open emotionally and to connect. And recently, I went through a period of loss. My partner passed away last year, and my male friends were extremely supportive and, didn't do the typical, let's go to the pub, have a drink, let's all move on together. Really interesting. And actually, I don't have much to add because you did such a good job on it. And I think it's something that does need to be addressed in society. Would you, and there's no angle to this, but would you say that gay male friendships are less surface level than heterosexual cisgendered male friendships? So it's just an open question.
That's an interesting one, but I don't really know, if I'm honest. Like, I don't know where. I still think that men are conditioned, even gay men are conditioned to be misogynistic. So I think that they would still potentially hold on to certain elements of that, which can affect friendships and especially the way they view, women, girls, and femme-presenting people. I think in general, the way that boys, whether they're gay or straight, they've still been conditioned in a way to not express emotions from a young age. The example I gave earlier was, and I can ask you unless you were here for it, but let's say a dad walked into a charity shop with his 4-year-old son and he said, go and pick any toy that you want. I'm treating you, all right? I know, to a charity shop. And he goes in and he's like, this is what I want. And he's holding a Barbie doll. What percentage of dads do you think would not want to buy that for their son?
Yeah.
just honestly, like, I'm not saying you're right or wrong. I'm just saying curiosity. What percentage do you think would not want to do that?
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure.
I personally think if you had 100 dads, I reckon 90 of them wouldn't want to buy it.
Yeah, I was going to say something like 2/3. Yeah.
Okay, I think it'd be higher than 66%, but sure, like very high. In my opinion, I think it's high, right? And it's like, that's just one example of how fathers are shaping the way that they think their sons need to be. And it's based on how they think they were told to be as well, right? Playing with a Barbie doll, girls do that, boys don't do that. But misogyny is kind of everywhere in ways we don't realize. If you go to a children's clothing store, right? Tell me like 3 things that you would potentially see on a 4-year-old boy's t-shirt.
Yeah, it's going to be dinosaurs. It's going to be trucks. It's going to be planes. Yeah.
Okay, superheroes, like things like sure. What would you see on a girl's t-shirt?
Yeah, you can have the unicorns, have the Barbie doll,
bunnies, fairies, right? Yeah. You know, like, so we're kind of looking at predator and prey. We're looking at dinosaurs and bunny rabbits. And this is to you, Charlotte, because you were the one who brought this in. Charlotte in the chat there. Charlotte was the one who used this a while ago, and I love it ever since. But you're literally looking at predator versus prey, right? Dinosaur and bunny rabbit. Aggressive, unaliving creature to cute, dainty, sweet. You know, like these are the types of words that are then used to describe things that boys and girls wear, things that boys and girls might behave like. Boys running around all the time fast, energetic, you know, like, oh, he's so, like the words they use to describe boys as well, like he's so competitive. He's always, you know what I mean? Like, whereas with girls, like, oh, she's really calm, you know, and all, it's like, these are the words that start shaping the way that we look at boys and girls.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily think that, you know, gay men would have necessarily like much more better friendships on the basis that it's because they're gay. But I wouldn't be able to actually say either way.
I'm wondering whether the kind of the social development that you have as a teenager and as a young adult kind of balances out that a little bit. While typically heterosexual men, cisgender men will be in environments that may not give the depth that is needed to develop some of those social relationships. Whilst actually gay men go through a number of challenges and a number of, pretty difficult internal, external conversations that may broaden out a little bit, but it's all speculation. My last bit, which for you, Lex, I mean, great job, by the way. I bumped into this today and it's a fantastic talking point. It's really, really valuable. The other thing on men's friendships are surface level friendships. What percentage or roughly what ratio of women's friendships do you think are very surface level and affected by some of the same things that we've talked about with men's friendships?
I'd say under half easily.
Yeah.
I think it's over half for men and under half for women. I really do. Look, I mean, so like you said, anecdotal, and it's the same for me, right? Like it's quite understandable that I might have these views because when I was at school, I was hanging around girls. I found them easier to talk to. I found them more interesting. I didn't care for all this like competitive, aggressive, like, kind of play fighting you saw in the playground. Just wasn't interested in that. I'd rather just have a conversation and make good friends. That's just what it was, right? So I found them a lot easier to talk to because they would actually talk about their experiences. They would talk about things that's going on in their life. And for me, it was like, hey, like I'm actually getting to know you, So I think that, again, the conversations that boys and girls have are very different. You could easily, and like, don't get me wrong, there was times when I hung around with boys, but it was always the same thing. Did you see the game yesterday? Like, oh yeah, what a goal by blah, blah. And then you're talking about football for half an hour.
Yeah, it's very interesting as well, because even though, as I mentioned, my father, bless him, passed away many years ago, but, he as he got older also, he had less and less friends and there was less investment in maintaining relationships. And, especially compared to my mother, who had this massive network of, is very responsible for the kind of social element of our family. And I think that actually probably ties into what we've been discussing in that those friendships, even if they are valuable for men, tend to fall away because there's less of this inclination to invest and develop and cultivate, which I think, it ties in really neatly into that, the way men are conditioned from a very early age to be quite transactional in those relationships. See? You turned it around. I get the point. I completely get the point. And it's because, when you sit in isolation, I went through your points. I went, get it. Absolutely. 100%. And I got down that one. I thought, I love my mates. They love me. We've had amazing conversations. But then I've had a very specific set of experiences and challenges And that has meant that, you know, my friends have been forced to confront my loss with me. They knew my partner, you know, and I guess it kind of all forced us through this process of understanding what friendships were. And at the same time, a lot of friendships fell away, sadly. A lot of the women in my life, I had that experience of thinking, wow, actually, you know, how supportive and how different some of those conversations were. So, yeah.
I'm sorry for your loss, but I do appreciate you sharing that with us as well. So thank you for that. And listen, if you ever want to come back again because you either maybe disagree with a prompt or want clarification and questions, please feel free. All right.
I'm saying you got to follow Lex, keep doing the good work, and yeah, I'll pop on and keep watching.
Appreciate it, buddy. Have a good one.
Cheers,
Bye-bye.
mate.
Right. I am fully aware that we have got 16 guests waiting, but time-wise, I'm not going to be able to carry on and get through all. So what I will say is this, 7:30 p.m. UK time tonight, in about 4.5 hours maybe, I will be live again with the same prompt. If you do want to watch